Welcome to the Obojima Podcast. My name is Jeremiah, and this is Adam and Ari, and we are the writers for Obojima. Every week we get together and we just ramble at each other until we have an idea that we can put in the book. And this week we are at the end of the 4-day shoot, and boy, are we tired.
Loopy.
The last episode we shot was rambly as heck, and I'm ready for another rambly episode, so we're gonna go for it.
I thought we were quite articulate.
Yeah.
Well, I felt crazed.
We were a Cambridge debate team.
Yeah. In this week's episode, we will be talking about monsters. I've noticed I do that. I'll start to say something and then I'll whisper to add effect. I've done it like 5 episodes of the podcast, and I don't think it adds anything.
People just don't know. They can't hear what we're talking about.
I just think I sound weird. I did it in the last episode, and I was like, or a couple episodes back, and I was like, why did I do that?
That was the
dumb.
episode, I think, where you were going to burp, and then you
I reverse
saved it.
burped, yeah. When you get the old reverse burp going. So yeah, monsters. We've created quite a few monsters, and have a wide variety. You've only seen a few of them, but we do have a handful that have been concepted and put together, and we have a lot of really cool stuff, which I'm very excited about. But we still have a handful to go. I think 20 plus monsters that we're generating. And so in our last conversations, which we talked about the sword schools, there was an idea Adam had that I thought was really smart, and we're going to jump into that now, which is this concept that the sword school, the Torov and Boulder, have a feat which allows you to combat and attack the legs, the chest, and the head to gain different effects. And Adam said, well, if they're practicing and learn these techniques while fighting monsters, what if there's an individual monster for each one of those things? And that's what we are going to build right now. And then if we've got time, we're going to jump into perhaps some snow peak monsters you might find at the top of Mount Abora. So we kind of hit some variety.
That was another save.
That's another burp. I'm sinking.
That's a feat. Like, that is a reverse burp save.
The reverse burp. So that's really interesting. So I guess to pull up this feat would probably be the best thing, although I just opened up the wrong doc. You have a leg strike, which reduces movement speed. You have a chest strike, which knocks the wind out of a creature. And you have a head strike, which disorients them. And so these creatures, one of them is probably incredibly fast. One of them uses speech or a caster. And the third one has 5 heads.
It's like head strike's pretty universal.
Head strike is pretty universal.
It makes me think
maybe it's just one big head.
It's just a giant floating head.
Oh, maybe it's the thing, the ogre with the...
What?
The helicopter.
What is this? Was that what you hear when you coming through the forest?
The concept of like the ogre, like the ogre with the head, and then it has a nether head on a ponytail that it swings around, a detached head that they like bicker with each other.
Yeah, if you can head strike that thing.
Yeah, you head strike that thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's it. You disorient the smart one, which happens to be the head on the thing, and so it stops telling commands to the dumb body.
That's definitely one.
Let me describe what's going on, because that felt weird and discombobulated. There's an ogre who, like, it's our version of an Etten.
Yeah.
Etten, essentially, where it's like one large ogre creature who's incredibly dumb, who happens to have a twin that's just a head and is run by a large ponytail, like a braided ponytail that comes out, and the big body, who's dumb, swings around the head of its brother, who happens to be incredibly the intelligent one that's like giving commands and like teaching it what to do and telling it where to go.
I love that it's braided hair.
Yeah, they braid. It's easier to swing that way.
Yeah, just the idea of this big dumb ogre like having to like braid its twin's hair.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, and these weapon masters have figured out, like, if you kick the head that's being swung, or before it gets going.
Yeah.
Like if you can knock that thing out, then the dumber one gets the disadvantage.
Yeah. That's fun.
That's kind of cool.
That is cool.
But then we haven't made a new monster.
No, we've just added.
We've
just added something in.
Yeah.
But if
This is make monsters or make monsters cooler.
That's
Yeah,
true.
this is we're
segment.
making monsters cooler.
Yeah.
Change the episode title. Well, there's one. It's okay. We've got other
Yeah,
things.
well.
We'll jump into another one. You were mentioning like the idea of like a monster that sings or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too musically in line because then we're just kind of jumping into the drum belly who like
Which we have belabored in another episode.
yeah,
Yes.
which we've done already.
Or toggle.
So
Yeah.
so instead, how about like a creature that like use it like maybe we have to be careful there too because the sheep dragon has this really cool ability where it like sucks up its mouth and then shoots out these like bullets of air, like wind pistol effects where it shoots these little bullets of air at people. So maybe like
This thing could have like a beguiling speech, right?
kind of yeah.
Yeah.
So you can hear it and
A little bit of a siren kind of vibe to it.
or it can paralyze or things like that. So you have to make sure it can't do that. So it could be something like that.
It could be like a Totoro style yell, where Totoro kind of like and she kind of floats or whatever. But it could be, like it yells at you and it like it's deafening. You can't hear anything, and then like you can't move closer to it. Like it's just like blowing you back.
Because the
essentially.
feat says it's like it not able to speak, right?
Yeah.
So it has to do with speech.
Right.
It's not like it can't breathe.
Right. No breath weapons don't
Yeah.
count or anything.
Right.
But if you said like it's not able to breathe the next round, which means it cannot speak and also cannot use a breath weapon, or like a Totoro yell or something like that.
There also could be something really cool where you could have an animal, a creature, that has learned to cast spells because of mimicry. So like, you might have like some sort of cool, like really like kind of like malicious monkey or something that can't really speak, but it can mimic. It has heard spellcasters, and so it's kind of taught this. Or, they've learned it from each other, and so it just is a spellcaster, and it has certain spells it knows. And
Yeah, that's cool.
It knows like magic missile.
it's like, okay, well, there you go. It's gonna cast something. You got this monkey casting this spell.
Magic missile monkey.
What if what if it has like some sort of control effect where it speaks at you and it gives you simple commands, and so like when they go out in parties, like some of the fighters are being controlled by this thing, and another person has to go knock the wind out of it so it stops talking, stops giving commands.
Yeah. What if it's a more powerful version of the command spell? Like it can just go kneel before, it says kneel, and everybody's like, huh.
Yeah.
And
I kind of like the malicious, like it's not really like it's just it has this ability to control you, but it doesn't really even it just has really simple commands. Like it's not super intelligent.
Like I'm imagining we could either tie this into something that is, we've tied a lot into kind of the demon ruler, the monarch from the Nakudama age. But I'm imagining like if this was like one of the strongholds in this region was here. There's like the ruins of this thing here. And so it's these monkeys that for generations have been after mimicking the monarch are still passing down, that are teaching this idea of casting spells that maybe this monarch had.
Yeah.
Or it could, we don't want to tie it into something that significant. It could have been like there was some, jerk, witch that lived out here, and so it's
and
like,
decided they teach all these monkeys.
yeah, and it's like they learned it, and it's just like, yep.
Maybe it was a lonely witch.
Yeah.
And it's had a bunch of monkeys around it, and there was just like, I'm going to teach you spells,
It had all these like apprentice monkeys,
and the monkeys are all innocent.
and now that's long gone. But now this I don't know what the collective noun of monkey is, but this clutch of monkeys is out there.
Just
A gaggle.
a gaggle.
Gaggle of monkeys. A murder of monkeys.
In this case,
A pride.
A pest of monkeys.
it's the monkeys.
Yeah, no, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
I feel bad about hitting these in the torso.
That's right. You are kicking them in the chest, so they lose their wind.
Maybe that doesn't count. Maybe it has to be something big and menacing.
It could be more evil.
Something you want to kick.
Something you want to kick.
I just want to be friends with those monkeys.
Yeah. Come here, buddy.
I'll teach you some other spells.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
No, I feel like
healing spells.
if they're monkeys, or like if they're like, vicious, it has to be some sort of vicious thing, something that's like more nefarious or evil. I don't hate the idea that there's a lot of them, which is kind of cool, where it's like they all kind of like, maybe they're not super strong, but if they can all command you, then you're like, oh my gosh, it's
overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Yeah.
Doing it in unison is really freaky. Like they're all just kind of harmonizing with each other.
Yeah,
just like
chanting.
You could imagine like they're all like
freaky.
They're all going crazy, and like there's 4 of them. They're all going crazy, and there's one fighter who's constantly being forced to run in different directions, and he's like, go, like he can't. They
getting
just
exhausted.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I mean, that's cool, but that's creepy. Like they don't even, some of them, they don't even hurt you. They play with you.
So
they
that could just
control
be a
you.
different monster, because I still don't want to. I don't want to.
We'll just make the monkeys scary, or just to make them not monkeys.
Yeah,
Or they're just freaky like
things.
like Kelpie or banshee spirit, like weird, like I don't know, hag-like or something, where they're just saying, come to me, and somebody's just running from spirit to spirit, and they're just doing it until they drop dead. And then they just leave, that the person. So you're just
it has to have a physical being, or like a physical body, so you can kick the chest.
You just like thump it.
So you can punch the wind out of it.
Come to me.
Yeah. Well, I think we can make monkeys still scary. I don't think they have to be, because I would
a Sioux monster
absolutely punch the heck out of the monkeys from Princess Mononoke. Those apes, I would punch those in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah. Oh, those things are freaky.
I would get locked in a fist fight with one of those.
Yeah.
Without question.
They're scary.
And so like, if it looked like that, if they were like these scary, beast type creatures, then it's less.
Yeah.
Just think less cute.
I remember I remember Richard doing the Sioux monster, the re-illustration.
That's right.
And they were freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that they move in groups and they kind of like play.
And
what also is kind of cool too is they probably don't even reveal themselves for a while. Like they might, like part of their thing is they might be hidden and they're just like calling at you until like you have to find them or something like that.
Oh, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Like how would you fight that thing?
That's hard. You knock the wind out of it so it can stop talking.
Yeah. You'd have to like get them out of the trees and get them on the ground. And then
they could be some combination of something that looks like a monkey and a bat or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Something kind of cool like that.
That's cool. I like that. So
all right.
What about Speedy Gonzalez? Something that is running around that these fighters would need to learn to strike the legs to slow it down.
So this is the Breckwater, wetlands.
Yeah.
So something with really long, spindly legs that could, go through the marshy territory could be kind of cool. Like some multi-legged thing. And
what if it's like a bahir? Like it's kind of like a lizardy thing or a spirit, that's like going through. And you got to slow it down. Like maybe, like I'm thinking of the thing that it wants to. Well, go ahead.
What about those lizards that like run across water?
Yeah,
Something like a big version of something like that.
The basilisk.
Yeah,
but it's like something that the thing of this monster is it steals something from you and then it tries to get away, and then you're trying to slow it down, and but if you don't, it'll just it's faster than you. So you have you have one shot to try to like. Slow it down. Otherwise, it's probably going to get away from you unless you just shoot it with an arrow.
What's something cool though that isn't? Because not to say those lizards aren't cool when they run across the water, but they look so goofy. Like it's not very intimidating because they're
the cool version.
Yeah. What's the cool version?
Yeah.
Well, what about how do you make axe beaks cool? Axe beaks cool.
They're just cool already, man.
Are they not cool?
I hate
you have stumbled into a trap now, man. Jeremiah.
No one told Ari that axe beaks weren't cool. So you're gonna have to get rid of that back tattoo, buddy.
So
I love axe beaks quite a bit. In fact, if I could replace all other mounts with axe beaks.
Sure, but if axe beaks were like chocobo, that's cool. If they were like giant chickens or like a chick, like a baby chick, but like if they looked anything except for the way that they're described in the book, then they would be cool.
I love giant flightless birds as mounts.
Yeah.
Agreed. But ostriches are the lamest ones.
It's the days of joust.
That's I mean that was not flightless, but
no, that's true.
But the idea of a knight on a bird,
yeah,
right, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Like I still love that.
Yeah,
And
but an ostrich?
so that's why they are axe-beaks, is they gave them a not ostrich face.
They just look like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They just kind of look like lame dinosaurs.
I like axe-beaks.
I
mean, one way you can do. They're great. Okay. I mean, just from somebody. Yeah.
I don't mean to attack you so much. I feel like I've really been going after.
Look, I'm not seeing axe-beaks. I'm not seeing dwarves in Obojima.
We're the farmers.
what kind of
Release the farmer cut.
What kind of crazy circus are you running here? Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things you could do with them running across water is like you could just go full speed, right? You don't have to make them, if they're like supernaturally fast. It's like impossibly fast. It could be,
yeah.
You can just do that, and that's kind of cool. So then you have to they might have a tell that they're coming, and so you have to anticipate and kind of hit them with.
They could also be just like giant long-legged things with a tiny torso and long arms,
yeah,
and just like long hair, and they're just like these kind of crazy shaggy swamp spirits.
Which I think is great.
I think there is.
It's actually really cool. Sorry, I just want to finish that thought. Imagining they can crawl, like there's these big kind of swamp crawlers that are like that. And if they kind of stand over you, almost like a tripod would, and they, some sort of attack, or maybe they can pull you up into the.
Yeah.
So they have like 4. Are they 2 or 4 long legs?
Could be 3.
Or tripod, and just that they're tall. No, I mean, it would be. I imagined 4. Like you have like the long 4 limbs and the long back limbs, and then if they kind of can crawl over something, and then almost like I don't know. Some other appendage grabs and pulls them
It's
up.
cool, like if it snared somebody and then it takes you away to its lair, which again is another reason why you want to chase it.
Yep.
Slow it down.
What if it was like these spindly long gray legs that extend out from like what looks to be like just like a big. Have you ever seen a moss ball? Is anyone familiar with a moss ball?
Mm-hmm.
They're like a. Anyone that has a partner who's obsessed with plants is gonna or is obsessed with plants themselves. They're just expensive balls of moss that you keep in a glass jar full of liquid, and they look cool. They look like a ball of moss, like a perfectly sphere ball of moss. And so I'm imagining to make these things not because again the issue with swamp is swamp leads to scary or hag-like.
Sure.
And we're also in Obojima land. So to make it non-super hag-like, but also not super cute, it could be like a big moss ball with these spindly legs that when it stands in like the swamp water just looks like a tree or something like that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, so I think this is a place where you could find the outer edge of what is creepy in Obojima. You're on the east. This is the most dangerous part of the island. And how cool. I mean, I'm imagining people are kind of lulled into a false sense of security here of Obojima, and then you encounter one of these things. You're like, what? You're going out with, one of the sword masters here into the wilderness of the wetlands, and suddenly one of these things appears. And it's like, I'm glad I'm here with the sword master because this is freaky, and it could be. I think it could be really cool.
I don't think this thing, the way I'm describing it, I don't think it would be cute in any capacity, but I also don't think it would be hag-like. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
what are you imagining the body's like, if not this? What are you imagining this creature looks like?
I imagine instead of it being like a moss ball, I'm imagining something that looks like things that are draped down and hanging down. So you actually don't ever see the underside of it.
Sure.
Because something can come down and pull you up.
But what does the top side of it look like?
It's kind of like a sloth.
Oh, yeah.
Like a sloth with moss growing on it, or like Spanish moss on a tree, in Georgia.
Yeah, and a lot of things that are hanging down and stuff.
I desperately want our artist to illustrate I want our artist to interpret what we're trying to say right now.
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm so intrigued. So you're saying sloth. You're saying like, but what does the top end of yours look like? So you also think it looks like a giant sloth?
I mean, it could. Like, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think, like, what I would imagine, what I imagine is you have this thing that's on kind of 4 really spindly legs so that it could, walk through, swamp, marshland.
Yeah.
And then what those limbs are attached to is a mass. Maybe you actually can't discern what it is, because it might be either covered in a bunch of this hanging moss. So I could almost imagine it sitting in the water, and then it kind of like rises up, and it almost like stands up, like, it might stand like 15 feet high.
Yeah.
So then, if something is, and it might stand perfectly still, kind of like what you described.
Yeah.
And so it might look like, oh, that's kind of weird or whatever. And anything that walks under it, or it kind of walks over, and it's really fast. So it could suddenly kind of like appear where you are.
Yeah.
And if it can get over you, it could have this attack that could pull you up.
Okay,
And then it kind of fishes you out, and then it kind of,
I feel like we're not
That's
too far
creepy.
off.
No,
Like,
yeah.
it obscures what the creature's face and body kind of look like, except maybe for right when you're underneath it and you see its maw or
you look
something.
I don't know if it's a mass of like weird thorny tentacles, or it's another, is it 2 other little arms that reach down and grab you? And I don't know.
Yeah, like
That's
a Quato.
terrible. Ugh.
Yeah. Or it could just be like a face, and it opens its mouth and a tongue comes down and snags you and pulls you up.
I like that. I like that creature design. I think that's interesting and creepy.
Yeah.
And you want to strike it in the legs.
Yeah.
So now we've got the head. We got the head strike. Well, unless we want to create a new head strike.
I don't think we have to.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
There is an animation I saw. I don't know if anyone is going to understand what's going on when I say this. I'm going to try. There's an animation I saw that when I saw it, I was like, this feels so creepy, and I want to like figure out how to form it into Obojima. But there are like 2 birds right next to each other in a tree, and they're like tweeting and talking and like chirping at each other, and then they like bump into each other and form into each other, and like one of them starts sucking the other one into its nose, and they form into a heart that like starts to beat, and then it passes to a cat who's in a different tree that has a bib on and is like angry, and it pulls the bib off and it like hisses, and then it turns into smoke. And I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, but I was like so intrigued and wanted more. And I was like, what is this? And I was like, what, like I say all of that to say like the obscurity and the strangeness, the feeling that was invoked when I saw that was like amazement, but also like not disgust, but like just like weirded out.
Yeah.
And I would love to figure out how we can like, like how do you make a creature that like you look at it and you're just like, oh, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
And I think this type of creature is like in the same line, but like I don't, not to say that all of the creatures in the swamplands need to feel like that, but I think there's a quality that we could find there.
Yeah. What was the animated series where they went to the planet and they crash landed, and then there's all those
what's it called?
because it's
The Martian.
No, yeah, well, no monsters there. But it was the similar kind of thing. Like there's all these strange plants and animals that do bizarre things, and they interact in strange ways. Like you take one animal and you put it in this thing, and it like then it turns into another thing, and it's just really like. It's surprising how unexpected it is.
Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's Reign. Yeah. That's another like kind of thing. Like it's this alien world, but things are all very organic. It's very. I
haven't finished the series, but what I've seen so far is really compelling.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's worth checking out.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel like specifically in the Blackwater Wetlands, we can kind of explore a more abnormal like spirit, like spirits that come and appear here, creatures that reside here are not in line with the other existing spirits and things like that. Like you might find more obscure and strange things that want to be by themselves. Or or don't reside in the kind of festival joy, happy joy cake style lifestyle. Yeah. I said the same thing like 3 times there. Happy joy cake lifestyle that the West offers.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
It makes me think of, there was I think a 2nd edition monster. It was called like Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. But it was like this little bunny that's on a stump, but the stump is like the actual monster. And you go over to pet the bunny and then the monster eats you. But it's the better version of that, but it's like that weird thing of like, the cat that hisses and then turns into smoke. It's like, whoa, it's just surprising. And, like not every monster, I mean, okay, here's the thing. Do we want monsters as things you have to fight or puzzles that you have to solve? Or are they, because like in Obojima, or is it just like a monster that is like almost like ambiance? It's almost like to give you a weird feeling. Like, hey, you see this bird and then it turns into a tongue, or like opens its beak and this giant tongue rolls out and eats like a mushroom, and then it folds inside out and then just kind of turns into goo and slides off and you're like, whoa, what the hell is this place?
I think that there's something to that. There's Boy and the Heron. Everyone go watch Boy and the Heron. There is the moment when the heron is like putting Mahito in a trance. And he's like, follow me. And like all the frogs come out and they're like, follow me, follow. And they're all crawling up around him. Yeah. And then you hear the of the arrow to like snap him out of it. Yeah. And that like wasn't encounter, wasn't combat, was super strange. The heron's like twisting and warping and laughing. Yeah. And that's the end of the combat encounter. And now, because we're going to put stats on a creature, that is going to make people feel like a combat needs to partake. But I'm very happy with including creatures that are meant for role play experiences and just these weird, twisted. Again, not when we talk about this, creatures don't fight till they die. That's not a thing that happens. I know that's how it works in D&D, but in Obojima, if you hit a creature, it might just flee.
Or turn
away.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like if this creature, like if the heron is messing with you and it's got all these frogs on you and it's about to put you in a trance and the arrow comes, the heron flies away. Yeah. Heron doesn't want to fight right now. There's too many people around. And that's how creatures would react in Obojima as well. Like they want to escape. They feel like they might have you in a circumstance where they have the advantage. And the moment they don't feel they have the advantage, they'll flee. And so there's an amount of that creepiness, this weird, twisted, warped, spirit-filled reality where things aren't quite what they seem, that I love for you to feel, especially in the swamplands.
Yeah. I like the whole thing, like with the Wizard of Oz, like the Wicked Witch of the West never actually assaults anybody. She's just all about threat. And as soon as Dorothy actually gets like mad enough to be like, you're not going to hurt my friends, it's like immediately the witch is done. And then, she throws the bucket of water and it's like she melts it. But
Dorothy is a witch hunter and she is 2 for 2.
She is 2 for 2. Yeah. But I like this idea that there's monsters here that are threatening. And if, as the DM has this sort of secret that it's like this monster really doesn't do anything, but it's threatening. And if the players run or the players act scared or they're like, oh my gosh, and then the monster actually gets more powerful. Like it actually feeds on your fear, and then maybe it could actually become powerful.
That's an interesting effect where you have to make wisdom saving throws, and the wisdom saving throw doesn't actually do anything negative to you, but empowers the monster. So if you fail wisdom saving throws, you're failing to the fear, and in return, it unlocks an ability for the monster to use. That is such an interesting mechanic type.
Yeah, it just grows stronger and stronger.
It grows stronger based off of it being able to affect you.
And there might be a couple different kinds of monsters in here. Like one monster, if it gets stronger, it gains these abilities, and then another monster might gain abilities in another way. And just to give it, you can use the same mechanic, but have different flavors for it,
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's really, really cool. That's really, really cool.
it's fun.
Okay, so let's before we move on to the snow-capped mountains, let's come up with like a weird monster. Like I know we came up with the spindly leg one, and that is creepy, but let's come up with like something that like has a strange, hypnotic, weird effect, or something that like would mess with the players but not necessarily harm them. Like something like what does it feed? We've talked about spirits and other creatures wanting to feed off of emotion and like this effect. There's one of the community driven creatures, Abora, right? And this wandering spirit offers gifts in return for you answering a question. And Ari and I went on an hour-long ramble on this, like trying to figure out what this means. And there's a lot of ways you could take this because, there's a lot of things, and it kind of lends into which direction. And we still, we'll have to come to a conclusion a little bit later. But the point is like, one of the conversations we were having is, why is this spirit even doing this? Why is this spirit coming up to you and offering you something for you to answer a question? Like, what is it getting from this? And some of the things that we had discussed is the possibility that like it just is drawn to this feeling of having knowledge and or playing with your emotions or experiencing really strong, potent emotions. And so, not saying this is where we're going to go with it, but the concept that we had for this spirit, or a concept that we had for this spirit, not the only one, was that like perhaps it knew that you had a sister, Adam. And it walked, and you didn't know. And it walked up and said, "What's the name of your sister?" Like you agreed to answering its question. And you're like, "I don't have a sister." And it's like, "What's the name of your sister?" And it just constantly pestered you and followed you. And you're like, "What is going on? I don't have a name." So like, it just loves the idea of like, it has this thing over you and it feeds off of your emotion, being confused, maybe scared of it in some capacity.
Yeah, like,
and in the moment you finally you finally learn your sister's name or something, and it like gets you. It's like, "I'm done with you. Here's your thing." And it goes away or something like that. Quits bothering
once
you.
you find the answer to its question.
Yeah. So, but that spirit is fully driven off of a different experience than like human or animalistic feel. Like it's not like trying to get food. It's not trying to get money from you. It's trying to get a feeling. It's trying to feed off of emotions or something like that. So some of these swamp creatures, what are they trying to do? Like, what is it, like if they're not trying to kill you, if they're not trying to take your money, do they like playing with do they want to invoke a certain feeling in you?
I think perhaps, I think we could also, there's probably more creatures here that actually want to kill you. Right. Because this is the dangerous place.
Sure.
So, but D&D also has a lot of creatures like that. So I understand, like, let's make things that are a little bit, different. But if we wanted to just make some, deadlier creatures, this is the place that we should put them.
Sure. And we have a lot. Almost all of our deadly creatures are in this area.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a huge collection of creatures that fit in this space. Like,
good point.
You could have a creature that, like in the swamp, I'm thinking, what do swamp creatures want? Maybe it wants warmth. Maybe it wants to get warm. And it's like tries to steal your heat. That could be deadly ultimately, but it could be also creepy. Like you just start feeling cold, and it might have an effect on you. Like it might get to the point where you're paralyzed, and you're just shivering, but you're not able to move.
Yeah, it brings you to hypothermia and then leaves.
Yeah, and then it just leaves. Once it's stolen all your heat, it goes. But like, and and there could be multiple that come out. They're like like let's say you're in Bracken Wetlands with a ranger. Yeah. And the ranger, like you're going through, and it's at dusk or something, or gloomy at night, and then you're in this area, and then all of a sudden the ranger's like, we're being tracked. Like, and you feel that chill, you feel that chill, and then you're like,
the fire goes down.
Yeah, the fire your lantern starts to go out, and they're just like, and you look around, and there's like 4 like glowing spirits off in the dark, or you just see this, and then they're like. And he's like, run, or like start jumping up and down, or don't generate heat or something like that. Yeah. It's just like this
cover yourself in mud like Predator.
Yeah, Predator, like roll around. Like, like there's some way to get, and it could be that they don't kill you. Like, yeah, you get down to paralysis and that's it. And then you're just left paralyzed and then something else could come kill you.
I like that. Then now you have a dangerous ecosystem.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
yeah, that's cool. I like that. See, that's interesting. That's like to give creatures desires besides you're near me, I'm attacking is fun and interesting.
Yeah. I'm also a fan of swarms of things.
Yeah.
Yep.
If there's something cool, a cool swarm of a thing that this is the dumb version, but a bunch of mosquitoes, and you have like all of these horrible mosquito bites or whatever. But the idea of being out in the swamp, there's all those kinds of annoying perils.
What if it's like some, I don't know, maybe it's because the Boy and the Heron and the swarm of toads, but I remember where I grew up, there used to be this one place, and it was just it was Northern California, so it was very dry, but there were these reservoirs, and there was this one reservoir, and you'd walk there at night, and the frogs, it was deafening, it was just they're just going to town. But I thought, imagine something like that where you're hearing frogs, but they're not frogs. And there's a swarm of them. And if you got maybe 3 or, a couple of them, it would be fine. But you get hundreds. And then something negative would happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what that'd be.
There's almost a design for creatures where you come up with a list of things that the creature might want from you and then build a design based off of that. Do they want to eat you? Are they scared of you? Do they want emotions? Do they want your coin? Do they want, what item do they want from you? What thing do they need? Most creatures are animalistic, so they just have really basic desires and stuff like that. But the more complex you can make and complicated these creatures can be, the more complex and complicated the world can be and feel more complex when in it.
I mean, I'm thinking what if it just wants your blood, but it doesn't want all your blood? Just wants a little bit.
Just a smidge.
Yeah.
It's making a blood cocktail.
Yeah, or just I don't know.
What if it's and again, this is more, this is kind of hearkening on curses. But what if some spirits or creatures just want to present you with a curse? So, for example, to harken on everyone's favorite voiceless walking redhead, the Little Mermaid. What if a creature just wants to, take your voice? It just comes near you, and it if it can get its hands, on your tongue, maybe it has long fingers or something, and just goes and pulls your voice away, and it's gone. You your tongue turns black, or a marking, a glyph gets burned onto the tongue of it, and you can't speak anymore. And that's all at once, and then it leaves.
And of course, it could speak in all the voices it's taking.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Or it wants your beauty, so you become like an old hag, or it wants your
Or once you're hearing, and this little thing that crawls in your ear.
Yeah.
And because that's creepy. Anything that crawling in your ear is freaky.
Yeah. Or a spirit that when it passes through you, it takes your joy away or something like that. You can't experience joy right now. And then the other thing too is, you could make these curses locked within the creature. So it's not a remove curse is going to do it. You have to hunt down the creature and free the thing that's inside of it.
That's cool. Yeah, that's neat.
So, I mean, that's again, that is abstract. It's weird because it's why would the creature want your voice? But it's
for the voice stealer, I'm trying to, the way I would love to play it, you could do something really kind of scary if you want to take it this direction, where you have the wetland, so there are all these kind of pools everywhere. And its thing is it tries to jump on somebody and drown them.
Ooh.
And so it's pressing them into the water, and then it lets them gasp for air. And when they gasp, that's when they grab your tongue.
That's so bad. That's so scary.
That's cool.
And then that's it.
They just want you to scream.
And they're up in the trees, and they're off. And that's it. And
How
they
about
have your thing?
You could do a thing with it, your party is in the back of Wetlands. They camp for the night. They're all asleep, and then somebody takes watch. And the first watch, second watch, third watch, and you make your rolls, and you're like, okay. And then on the third watch or something like that, you say the other character, one of the characters who is asleep, you hear their voice off in the dark going, help me. And if the person doesn't check to see that the person's still asleep there, they might run off.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, my buddy. Or they might wake up the camp and then they realize, oh, everybody's here. And then the person whose voice it is that's stolen, they get up and they're not able to speak.
You start that way. And then they try to call out to signal, and they can't say anything.
Yeah.
And then they hear themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, what is happening?
Yeah. That's freaky.
That gives the same feeling if anyone's ever seen the movie Annihilation with Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Such a good film. Such a good film. But there's the bear.
That's right.
Oh, the bear.
I need to watch it.
It's very good. I don't necessarily want to spoil a moment for you, but there is a creature that can mimic things that it has killed. And so there's just
that's freaky.
That's cool.
Very chilling moment with this giant undead bear.
I mean, it could be like there's I mean, this is a deadly thing, but it's like an anglerfish that's, instead of like its little, light or wriggly worm thing, it's a little kid.
God, I hate that.
And it's like, help me.
That immediately gave me like,
it's gross. Like, but it's just like this little simulacra of a helpless little kid, and you're out there like, oh, come. And as soon as it's just like,
yeah.
That means that the next time a kid is in peril,
that's true.
I'm shooting him with an arrow.
Quick, it's a demon lord tongue,
Get him.
What?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay. So I love this, and this also, let us know in the comments, because I thought of something. You said something and I was like, we should do a podcast episode. It is not about writing D&D, but it's a podcast episode idea in general, where you were like, oh, everyone does the watches and blah 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 blah. And I was, in my head, I sighed and I went, watches, because watches are the worst. They are absolutely terrible. You either as a DM, feel the need to do watches even though you're not going to plan a combat, so that way every time you do, because otherwise if you don't, you only do watches when something bad's going to happen. So sometimes you have to force your players to do rolls when they don't want to, just for it to lead to nothing. And I sometimes do it and give and count, but the whole thing is like, how do you make watches better? Like, there should be a podcast episode dedicated to us fixing watches alone. And I'm not talking about like pocket watches. But like there's just a conversation to be had there on how to make those better. Because it's bad. Or, it's a problem.
Travel in between spaces, It's
oh
like
my gosh.
Travel. Yep.
Overland travel's bad too.
It's bad.
I'll just give my short answer, so it's there and people can comment. Short answer for me is like, what is the type of game you're playing? If the idea is I want to bleed your resources and this is kind of a survival horror style game, then watches are awesome, because it's like, okay, something's gonna happen, and it's like, okay, and you're if you start playing with things like exhaustion, and you're trying to deplete character, but that's the tenor of the game.
Yeah.
Then it actually it's additive, right? Sure. It adds to the tension. If it's just like, you go to sleep, something could happen, so I guess watch, and now we're going to dedicate a half hour to this nonsense. Yeah. Like, okay, it's
because the Bracken Wetlands are the Bracken Wetlands. It's that place is survival horror, as close as Obojima is going to get to it.
If you're in the Bracken Wetlands, let's say, and you don't do watches, and everybody wakes up with leeches all over.
It's like, hey, I wouldn't have let that happen to my compatriots, or I wouldn't have let the thing sneak up on us.
And you could always do it like something simple too, right? Where you can just say who's on watch when, and if something happens, you could be like, you could just say it. You don't have to do rolls. You could be like, or you notice this,
or it could be like every night in the Bracken Wetlands.
Now we're doing this podcast.
I know.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Like, in the Bracken Wetlands, no matter when you sleep at night, like something's going to happen, right. And it's just roll a d4. If you got 4 players, it's just like, we're going to roll a d4. Who's going to happen to?
Yeah. There's a whole thing. The point is, there's a lot.
The conversations
I want to add to this, but I'm not going to, because the podcast is about monsters. But if you want to hear more about this, you should let us know, because I want to talk about this, but I'm not going to do it unless we get people saying to do it. So if you don't say to do it, it's not happening.
This is as much as you get.
This is as much as you get. It ends here.
The puck of time will decree it.
The puck of time will decree, which, by the way, is the thing that tells us how long we've been recording. We have 20 minutes left, which is why I'm going to transition for this last 20 minutes.
Oh.
Snow.
Snow beast.
Do a little bit of shift. Okay, come from a different perspective
Arbora.
here.
Yeah.
The top of Mount Arbora, or Bora. That's the one.
Bam.
Yeah, we have not made any snow creatures, and it's not like I'm trying to flesh this book out full of snow creatures, but having one or two is not a terrible idea.
I mean, Mount Arbora is a massive a spirit center, I'd imagine, or like there's some elder spirit there. So are there spirits like a snow spirit?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably snow spirits.
And what do they,
in some capacity, right? But I think the thing is with spirits, you can kind of flavor those how you want. I'm not sure if we need to make a specific one, unless it's like a very specific theming. Like there is a huge collection of like snowball spirits, which are like oh my god, snowball spirit, like mosslings and scrublings with their snowballs.
They get bigger.
Whoa.
They roll around.
Okay, so we have to make those.
Okay.
We have to make those, right?
There is one spirit that's in the Gray Steppes, which is a settlement on the slopes of Mount Arbora. And this is a spirit known as the Horned Wolf. And it's spotted at the edge of town. Anyway, so yeah, that's
cool.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's neat.
So, there's some stuff up there, but what are there beasts up there? With the snowball spirit's so cool. I love that. What else exists within that space? Now I'm a big fan of expanding elemental lists. I know that they kind of reside in the same kind of feeling as spirits, but I think with elementals, it's more of like a naturally occurring magic compared to like a sentient spirit. I mean, they reside in the same in a similar space, and I think you can have both in Obojima. And we discussed them in
there could be some fun stuff that kind of burrows through like deep snow. And so you can kind of have these little like things that can track through it. Could be kind of fun. Maybe they glow, so you kind of see this weird like glowing thing, but like below the snow, and so you get that kind of ambient light. It could be kind of cool.
What about like really furry pigs?
This is instead of like mountain goats. It's these like
really furry. Maybe they burrow into the snow too.
That's great.
A snowshoe pig.
Yeah.
Snowshoe pig.
That's cool.
That's
maybe
fun.
maybe they're like pretty docile and chill, but then if they get angry, they kind of like grow twice the size and become super angry or something. All the snow around them starts to melt and like
That's interesting.
And they're like maybe the leading cause of avalanches are these pigs, these wild pigs that live on the peaks of Mount.
Don't get them rattled. Yeah.
We've also talked about how like we have these flying jellyfish that kind of drift up the mountain and down
and land.
Yeah. So I don't know if they have like jellyfish nests. Like where do they stop there, or do they just kind of follow currents and drift over it? And
I've always kind of imagined them like float. If you're looking at our map right now, floating from south to north, and then getting just to the peak, and then they just kind of crest over, and then they start rolling down the side of it and out the back. So they probably cause a ton of avalanches on that side.
Actually roll.
I
thought it was just drift down. I got to change some writing.
But they don't have to roll, but that's how I imagined it. Yeah, they just and then they just like roll off into the ocean side.
And then a fish is
there is this flow of
jellyfish.
They call it
even cooler than what I had.
They call it a jelly flow.
A jelly flow.
Look at the jelly flow.
There's got to be some dance in some village called the jelly flow.
Oh man! Oh, we should have made
Do the jelly flow, man.
Snow infused jelly as one of our ingredients. Like the globs of jelly infused snow.
You're like,
that's interesting too, because jellyfish obviously have like a toxin, or some of them do inside of it. So you're like, because it's transparent and lives in the snow, like one of the things that occurs, you just like freeze up in the snow because you accidentally step on jellyfish toxins.
Gosh.
And then you just lock up and then you're just, stuck in the snow.
Yeah.
That's one of the dangers.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Oof,
Sherpas that lead you up there, people that lead you up there, have a special antidote, or they have a stick that they poke into the snow prior, or they have a spray that turns the snow pink if there's toxins on it.
They have this bottle and they.
Yeah. That's cool. We're not making monsters. That's not a monster talk.
What about a lurker below, but it's just like a big carpet of snow, and then it just wraps you up, but it's also freezing you at the same time. So as you're trying to get out, if you don't get out in time, you'll get it could be paralysis or whatever. But
yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
What do we got with what kind of beast type things because these are all very inanimate type dangers,
like weirdos.
Yeah, what kind of interesting beast type thing could be up there? Obviously, there's the horned wolf. I mean, if we wanted to include those pigs, we could, but that's up to us. But is there some thing that lurks the top of Mount Abora that Lom and Salt, the sword school, would have to deal with? What is the consistent danger that exists with up there? Winter wolves or probably some sort of thing.
I mean, you brought this up, I think maybe even at the first meeting we had, but early on you'd asked about lycanthropy.
Oh yeah,
as a thing here. Is there something like that up here? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get me wrong. Huge werewolf guy, big werewolf dude. Love a good werewolf. Werewolves are in all of my games. I've made werewolf miniatures. I forced the company to make werewolf miniatures. Absolutely love werewolves. I kind of want to avoid lycanthropy in Obojima.
Okay, right. I mean, we have howlers.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be a group of howlers up here.
Snow howlers. Yeah.
There could be snow howlers. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
I don't hate snowlers.
Snow howlers.
Snowlers. That's not too terrible. What about the addition? I really love the design aspect of the sheep dragon, which combines a woolly type thing with an existing monster. What is a thing that would the pig doesn't normally have fur, so that's kind of probably they are hairy, but not the way I'm imagining it right now. So what's a monster combination that might be interesting that lives in the top that you wouldn't expect up here? For example, a barracuda fish that's covered in fur that swims through the snow up at the top of the mountain. I
mean, just anything with
Ari's face was a look of amazement, whoa, kid seeing Disneyland for the first time.
Couldn't put it together.
Yeah, barracuda, fish head, whatever it is, it would. Yeah, that's cool.
Furry fish is weird.
Furry fish is
really weird. And barracudas are scary.
They are scary.
And so having a big furry brown fur, just a standard barracuda but covered in fur that swims through the snow.
That is horrific.
That is, yeah.
And I love it though.
That is terrifying.
Yeah. I wonder if you took its face and you smashed it. So it was just it was instead of going out this way, it went out wide. And it's just got this grimace face with just those barracuda teeth.
I didn't know where you were going. What if you smash its face in? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, just smash his face. Yeah, just pancake it out. And,
okay, a flattened version.
Yeah, it's just a flattened version of it.
What if you flatten its face?
Yeah, flatten its face. If you took, it's like a pug is basically
what if we
a
beat
dog,
it up?
and then you just smush its face, and then you get a pug.
Oh, man. So funny. No, I love the fur barracuda.
Fur barracuda, it's cool.
It's kind of cool.
We want something. Sorry, do we want something that's kind of Yeti-like, or a sloth that you mentioned earlier in the swamp, but some sort of cool mountain sloth would be cool. The idea of it, it can climb, but it's also kind of can be formidable to encounter.
It's climbing up a frozen waterfall, and that's where it lives, and it's got the claws, and it's using them as ice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's neat.
I'm looking at the back of your computer here, Ari, and there's an owl, and I was like, well, what giant feathered thing would exist up here that like trudges through the snow, you know, like a Skeksis type weird Skeksis or Skeksis? Skeksis. You know, the one.
Good.
Yeah, like it's like a vulture-headed thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this weird...
yes. Oh my gosh. I'm pulling it up right now. I knew I had something in my head. I just watched a vulture walk. This is crazy. You know, look up a vulture walking, just like walking around. It does like this galloping thing. What if it's just a vulture? What if it's just like a giant vulture that can talk?
Flightless vulture.
A flightless vulture that lives in the snow.
You can ride.
You can ride. And we'll call the Max Beaks.
Yeah, and it all comes full circle.
Hatchet beak.
No, like a vulture spirit or something that like lives up in the snow and like trudges and pounces around. And like has like, you know,
can it talk or is it?
Yeah. Oh, it has to be able to talk.
Good.
This thing, and we just illustrate this vulture walking. It's just so cool.
Is it intelligent?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So what if there were several of these that live up here, almost like mountain hermits, and they can like create some sort of like trumpeting sound, like to communicate with each other, like that, so you could hear it,
That's
like echoing
cool.
off the off the mountain.
I want one of these things to be a witch too.
It's cool.
That's cool. Anyways, that's really cool. I'm into that. The cameras are all dying. We're dying. We're dying. And so I think honestly with the addition of let's just add a vulture but make it big.
Yeah. And lives in the snow.
And it's smart. I think that's where we're going to end this podcast episode. We've had a lot of good conversations here. I think this is it though. So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed our conversations. This was the Obojima Podcast. You can check us out on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube. Join our Discord, all of that fun stuff. Instagram, we're all over the place. And we will catch you next time for some other thing, probably.
Maybe.
Very committal.
Yes. Yep. It's been a weird one. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you later.